Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to focus on the following question. How can human activities affect the quality of water? Lesson objective. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe how human activities affect the quality of water. Introduction. Today you will learn about how water and what we do to the environments impacts the quality of water available. Before you read, name 3 facts you know about how humans can impact water quality. Write 2 questions you have about how humans can impact water quality, and write an analogy about how humans can impact water quality. Generating questions. How do I ask good questions? Good questions start with who, what, where, when, why, and how. Brainstorm a list of at least 12 questions about the topic. And here are some sample question starts to help you generate good questions. Why? What are the reasons? What if? What is the purpose of? How would it be different if? Suppose that. What if we knew? What would change if? Now, there are other ways to generate good questions, but these question starts will help you generate really good, thought-provoking questions. So, generate a list of at least 12 questions about this topic. Name 3 facts you know about how humans can impact water quality. Well, first, I know that shampoo, detergents, and medicine enters the water system, and that impacts the water quality. 2, I know that oil tankers spill oil in the oceans, and that impacts water quality. And 3, I know that a lot of plastic ends up in the ocean, rivers, and lakes, and that impacts water quality. Now, write 2 questions you have about how humans can impact water quality. What kind of questions were you able to come up with? Are they thought-provoking questions? Were you able to use any of the question stems? Let's see. My first question is, what are the reasons for farmers to use pesticides? My second question is, suppose that there is an oil spill. What impact would that have on the quality of water? Finally, write an analogy about how humans can impact water quality. Now, an analogy compares 2 things. So, I'm going to compare polluted water to polluted air. Polluted groundwater is like polluted air. If we get sick, we can get sick if we ingest it. Independent work. Harmful chemicals cause water pollution. Conservation is one way to take care of water resources. Another way to care for water resources is to prevent water pollution. Water pollution occurs when harmful or poisonous materials enter into water. When water is polluted, it may harm the living things that depend on it for survival. Chemicals can pollute water. For example, chemicals from your home, such as detergent and shampoo, wash down the drain. But homes are not the only place where chemicals enter the water supply. There are many industries, such as agriculture, that contribute to water pollution. Some farmers use chemicals on crops to help them thrive. They use chemicals to keep weeds from growing among crops. They also use chemicals to keep insects from eating the crops and damaging them. All these types of chemicals can wash off into nearby surface water when it rains, or seep below ground into the groundwater, becoming pollutants in our water supply. Farmers often use chemicals on their crops. What are some advantages of using chemicals on crops? What are some disadvantages? We talked about this in the previous slide. Scientists skim oil from the surface of the water after it has spilled. This boat uses a boom, the orange tube, which rides on the surface of water to collect spilled oil. So, these dark lines here on the surface of the water, this is an oil spill. This orange tube here is called a boom, so the boat will ride along the surface of the water, collecting the oil inside this boom. Oil spills cause environmental damage. Oil is a mixture of chemicals. It is an important natural resource because people depend on it for energy. Oil companies access oil in earth by drilling underground and pumping it to the surface. The oil is then transported to where it is needed. Sometimes the oil spills into water when companies are drilling, pumping, or transporting it. The oil spills into water. It can harm the living things in the aquatic system. For instance, during an oil spill, small algae called plankton can die. Fish cannot get oxygen from the water. Even birds cannot fly with oily wings. It is very difficult to remove oil from water once it has been spilled. Scientists can try to remove it by soaking it up. They have also tried to remove oil by releasing bacteria or chemicals into the area of an oil spill that break down the oil. Scientists can skim oil that has been spilled from the water's surface. Scientists can also burn oil that has spilled on the surface of water. Although these ways to remove oil can help, it is very difficult to remove all the oil from water once it is there. The Pacific garbage patch is a symbol of damage. There is a new island in the Pacific Ocean. It is not one that the people would want to visit because it is made of trash. How did the trash get there? Wind and rivers move plastic into the ocean. People can throw garbage into the ocean. Once garbage gets into the ocean, currents carry it away. Over many years, the garbage ends up where the currents meet. This is the area known as the Pacific Garbage Patch. In this illustration, we can see that there's a huge collection of garbage. And this is just a small fraction of it. Sunlight and water can break down plastic into small bits. They remain in the ocean, even if they are hard to see. The plastic is hard to remove from the water without taking tiny plants and animals out too. How can all this pollution be removed from the ocean? One young man, Boyan Slat, developed a way to remove this plastic. His invention uses floating booms to gather the plastic into a holding tank. Ships empty the tanks and bring the plastic to a recycling center. Scientists are not sure if the invention will be enough. In any case, people need to figure out how to solve the problem of the Pacific garbage patch. Boyan Slat developed an idea to remove pollution from water. He designed and built his invention with the aim of removing thousands of tons of garbage from the Pacific Ocean. After reading, name 3 new facts you know about how humans impact water quality. First, the text states that it is very difficult to remove oil from water once it has been spilled. This will impact water quality as well as other ecosystems. 2. The text states that people can throw garbage into the ocean. Litter enters the ocean and can impact water quality. 3. The text states that sunlight and water can break down plastic into small bits. This means that small bits of plastic can impact water quality and are likely to stay in the water for a very long time. Did you find the answers to either of your 2 questions in the reading? Use text evidence to support your answer. The first question I had was, what are the reasons for farmers to use pesticides? I found text evidence on this slide, which I highlighted. Some farmers use chemicals on crops to help them thrive. They use chemicals to keep weeds from growing among crops. They also use chemicals to keep insects from eating the crops and damaging them. So it is very important for farmers to use crops. My answer is, the text states, quote, some farmers use chemicals on crops to help them thrive. They use chemicals to keep weeds from growing among crops. They also use chemicals to keep insects from eating the crops and damaging them, end quote. My second question was, suppose that there is an oil spill. What impact would that have on the quality of water? I found text evidence on this slide. When oil spills into water, it can harm the living things in the aquatic system. For instance, during an oil spill, small algae called plankton can die. Fish cannot get oxygen from water. Even birds cannot fly with oily wings. So, the answer to my second question is, the text states that, quote, when oil spills into water, it can harm the living things in the aquatic system. For instance, during an oil spill, small algae called plankton can die. Fish cannot get oxygen from the water. Even birds cannot fly with oily wings, end quote. Write a new analogy about how humans impact water quality. So after the reading, I can come up with a new analogy to compare 2 things. The Pacific garbage patch is like a man-made island of trash, except no one wants to live there. Thanks for watching. See you next time.